everyone, Elsie Jensen here. Today we are going to make a creamy roasted cauliflower soup with some Reubens on our sourdough bread, and we're going to prep up some Aunt Aggie's dough so that my kids can have some Aunt Aggie's cookies later today. Let's start by getting our cauliflower chopped up and drizzled with some olive oil and some spices for it to start roasting up in the oven. This is going to be the main base part to our soup, which is going to give it a really lovely and creamy texture. So I've got one big purple cauliflower, although you can use any color or cauliflower here. And we're going to chop this guy up. So I take out that middle chunk here. And that way I can start chopping this guy. And you want to leave the stalks and everything. It doesn't just have to be the florets. Those stalks will actually puree up lovely for this. So I'm going to just chop it up into smaller pieces here so that it will roast up and bring out those lovely flavors. So it doesn't have to be any particular size or shape, but the smaller, the faster it will roast up, because we'll pop all of this into our broth once we're got it going, and then after it's simmered for a little while, we will puree it up in a blender to give you that really creamy, delicious soup. Okay, so we've got our cauliflower here all chopped up, including keep the big stalk parts. Those are gonna just be wonderful. And I'm going to put this on my baking sheet here, and then we're going to drizzle with some oil and some spices. We're going to just do a really simple kind of savory roasted cauliflower soup today with just paprika and cumin and garlic salt. Kind of those are our base flavors here. Let's get all of my little cauliflower dust here. We're going to give this a nice drizzle of olive oil. So this is a good amount. So we're probably going to put about a tablespoon of olive oil. And then I'm going to give it a good shake of onion powder, aiming for about, a teaspoon and a half over this. And we're also going to add in some smoked paprika. Just got a new packet of this. And this is going to give it just a lovely kind of smoky, savory flavor and a little pop of red that will go well with the kind of purple that cauliflower here. This does not want to peel up for me. I hate it when they don't have a little tab on it. It's like, you expect me to be able to peel this off? There, almost. And when all else fails, just use your knife. Normally they have those little edges where you can kind of peel them off. This one did not. And we're going to give it a good shake of our smoked paprika, about, again, a teaspoon and a half. We are going to use some also in our pot. We're going to saute some of these spices up, but I do want some on my cauliflower seasoning it. And then we're going to also add in some cumin, about a teaspoon of cumin. So a good shake over. And then, of course, a little black pepper.
You have a question. Does the purple cauliflower taste the same?
Yes, it does. It's just prettier. I always like the pretty vegetables. And then I do a good shake of garlic salt over. Again, about a teaspoon and a half. And then I'm going to just go in with my hands here, and we are going to coat up all of our cauliflower. Make sure it gets coated in those oil and those spices so they all will get that lovely roasted flavor. Here we go. And then I'm going to lay it out nice and flat. That way it will roast up. I'm going to give my hands a quick rinse, and then we're going to pop these in the oven. Okay. So I have my air fryer set at 425. So if you don't have an air fryer setting on your oven, you can do convection roast at 425, or you could do a traditional bake at 450. And these are only going to need to roast for about 10 or so minutes on that air fryer setting, because it's going to really allow it to kind of crisp up and cook up pretty fast. So I'm going to set my timer here for 10 minutes, and then we should be ready to add those into our soup. Now, while we're letting that roast, I'm going to start sauteing up my onion so that it can really bring out the flavors, get the caramelization on it. And then we will work on our dough for our Aunt Aggie's. So I've got one big yellow onion here. And you definitely want to use a yellow onion over like a red onion or a white onion. These are going to give you the nice sweet flavors, that caramelization. Although you might, if you're using purple cabbage, you might be tempted to use the red onion to add more of that purple color to it. But the red onions just they don't retain their flavor well when you cook them. Okay, we're gonna do just a simple dice on this. We don't need to do super small or anything like that because we are going to be pureeing our entire soup. There we go. So again, just like a loose kind of chopped dice. And then we're going to get this with some olive oil in here. We're going to start kind of caramelizing it up so it brings out its natural sweetness. I'm going to put about a tablespoon of olive oil in here. And then I'm going to turn my Dutch oven on to about like a 6. So a little bit higher than medium, so like a medium high. And then we'll give this a good toss. And we'll let those onions start to kind of saute and caramelize up. Once they've gotten to a good caramelization, we'll throw in some garlic as well, and then our spices. But for now, we're just going to let them kind of sit. Okay, since my hands got a little onion flavor on them, I'm going to give them a quick wash. Just to make sure I don't transfer any of that over to our Aunt Aggie's. So Aunt Aggie's is a favorite cookie in our household. My kids absolutely love it. It's a really simple cookie. It has like 6 ingredients. And this is a recipe that's been passed down in my husband's family for since the 1800s. So it has been around for a while. I'm going to make a really big batch of this because I keep them in my freezer because you can just take them out and then chop them and bake them and they're ready in like 8 minutes once you take them out of the freezer to bake up. So they are definitely a hit and simple, but I make a big batch at a time so that I have them there. So anytime my kids say, oh, can I have cookies? I can make cookies in a blink of an eye. And with fall coming up, I'm going to actually use some food coloring to give them nice fall colors. I always love to give them some really fun colors. And, last time I made these was for Teddy's birthday, and we did like the kind of like under the sea colors for it. So we're going to start with 2 cups of butter, which is 4 sticks or an entire pound. Now, this is going to make a lot of cookies. It's going to make a lot of cookie, I will say I can't even think of the word, tubes where you'll slice and cut. So don't think this is all just for like one cookie. It is not. Logs. There we go. I was thinking columns and I'm like, that's not the right word. I was thinking of the shape, but the word was eluding me. That's how my brain works, guys. It was close. Okay. We got, again, 4 sticks of butter, and I use salted butter. And now we're going to add in 3 cups of granulated sugar, and we're going to cream these together. So, and I will make sure I get it 2 and 3. And this will make probably like 200 cookies, guys. So it is for a lot of cookies, but the cookies are small and they go fast in my house. We're going to cream these guys together until I'm using softened butter. That way the creaming goes faster and quicker, which is much better. Just easier. Okay. Boom. They're all creamed up. I'm going to give my onions a quick stir for it, just because we want to get it nice and going. I will say the smell of onions always smell delicious. And now the trick with this is we're going to use 6 eggs, but we're not using 6 full eggs. We're using just the yolk. So I'm going to save my whites. I always say I'm going to use them for something, and I might, but I might not. But I'm going to save them. Maybe I'll make like marshmallows with them or whatnot. But we're going to separate our eggs, and I'm going to keep the whites in one and the yolks in the other. The yolks are what make this cookie really like rich and give it like more of a shortbread texture to it. There we go. And then I just do the old-fashioned way where you kind of toss your yolk back and forth between your eggshell to get your, it out. This is the way I was taught, although you can also do the one where you fish it out after you crack it. But this is going to be for our Aunt Aggie's cookies, which is a kind of a hybrid between a sugar cookie and a shortbread cookie. So it's not as sweet as a sugar cookie, and it's not as, I will say, like buttery rich as a shortbread. So it's a happy medium, and I think that's why it's such a favorite in our family, especially when they like 5 minutes after they come out of the oven where they've firmed up, but they're still warm. That is always the best. If I make these and I don't text my daughter to come and get them when they've come out of the oven, it's like I betrayed her, because these are, again, a huge hit. So let's get our 6 yolks in here. And almost, let's catch this guy up. There we go. So our 6 yolks in. I have ideas that I might use these whites, but don't hold me to it. I say that every time. I'm even like, oh, I can make like a egg white omelet, but to be honest, who wants an egg white omelet? The yolks are what make the omelets delicious. And my husband, okay, he says he wants an egg white omelet. Well, he'll get an egg white omelet. I personally think egg white omelets are just not right. Okay, let's cream these yolks into this butter mixture. There we go. And now I'm going to use a spatula to kind of press the butter or any of the sugar that has stuck up on the sides of my mixture down, because again, we want it to be evenly mixed in here. And then we're going to add in our baking soda and our cream of tartar, which is going to be, the cream of tartar is going to be the binder, which makes these kind of a cut cookie. And then the baking soda is the leavening agent with working with the yolks.
Okay. Someone said you use egg whites for lemon meringue pie.
You guys had to mention that. My husband loves lemon anything. He always is asking for me to make lemon tarts. And I know that egg whites make meringue, but I was not going to say anything about it. There's a lot of steps into making meringue and a lot of patience. Okay, we're going to use 2 teaspoons of baking soda. Now, I am doubling my recipe that I have. I feel like this is a recipe card I gave out to everybody in the spring. It's called Aunt Aggie's, so you can just do some digging for it, and you should find it. Now, most of my recipe cards go out to just our members, but occasionally I give you guys some freebies here. So this is double my traditional recipe base. So we're going to add in 2 teaspoons of baking soda, and then 2 teaspoons of cream of tartar. Now I'm going to have to use, because my cream of tartar base is not wide enough, I'm going to use my half teaspoon, so I'll be doing 4 of them to get the same amount. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to make sure we cream this mixture together until it's fully combined. Here we go. And once it's nice and combined, we'll have it there. But you want to make sure that baking soda gets mixed in. Beautiful. Because you don't want to risk having it partially mixed, because again, that's really what's going to give the little puff in these cookies, which they're not a super puffy cookie, but that will give it to it. And you don't want to have like an area that is a lot of baking soda.
You have a question. What's cream of tartar?
Cream of tartar is like a binding agent in it. It also goes by the name alum for it. To be honest, I don't know exactly what it is. I just know that you use it a lot of times to make baking soda as one of the binding agents in baking soda or in baking powder. But it also, for these cookies, what it's going to, I know what it does. It's going to hold the cookie together to make it a cut. Okay, let me give a little stir here. I'm going to turn it down. It looks like my onions are getting nice and caramelized on here. And let's go grab our cauliflower out of the oven because it is beeping at me. And I think we're going to have a helper join us here. You want to help us? Looks like Chef Teddy just came out of nap and he would like to help. He's the best little helper. You love cooking? Okay. Ooh, it's nice and steamy. So here we've got our purple cauliflower. Nice and roasted up with our spices and seasoning on here. Now, I don't know if you guys can tell, but it has a very dark purplish color here right now, which is wonderful. A little bit of, golden brown edges around here. So again, this is our cauliflower seasoned with paprika, cumin, garlic salt, onion powder, pepper, and toss with some olive oil. You got your little helper thing? Okay, come here, buddy. You want to stand and be my helper? Okay, we're going to let that cool for a second. Let's get our flour mixed into our base here to make it. So this is going to use 4 cups of flour. Yeah, you're going to steal some dough? Always. That's why he likes to help me. He's the official dough tester. Okay, we're going to add in 4 cups of flour. You want to help me dump? There we go. So 1. You gonna count with me? 2, 3, and 4. So there's our 4 cups. Now, just 4. So 4 cups of flour in here. And then I'm going to turn on nice and low, and we're going to let that cream together to form our base for our cookies. But you can bake it up plain, but we're going to I like to mix in some food coloring to give it some fun fall colors or whatever holiday we're celebrating. So in here, we'll let it come together. Is it delicious? Good. Okay, I'm going to turn it up a little bit higher now that it's kind of mostly combined. I know. Beautiful. So it is a nice thick dough for our cookies here. And we'll mix in our food coloring in just a second. It is thick, that's right. Okay, we're going to pop this out. Okay, I have a very important job for you, Teddy. Do you think you can do it?
Yeah.
Can you lick that for me? Thank you. Okay, in a little bit, we're going to mix colors into it, but let's work on our soup real quick. I washed my hands. Okay, good over there, Teddy? Okay, we've got our onions caramelizing. We're getting this great browning on it, which is what you want, this nice sauteed flavor. It's going to give you that lovely flavor to it. Plus, you've got the sweetness from the caramelization. And are you stealing dough? Are you being a cookie thief? Okay, let's add in our garlic, and we'll let that saute up for a quick second. Slide this. Let me get a spoon. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll work on that in just a second. So we're going to add in about a ½ tablespoon of garlic here. We're going to let it get nice and crispy and saute up for a minute. And then we're going to add in some spices, and then we'll add in our cauliflower and broth, and we'll let that simmer while we start making our Reubens, and then we will work on mixing in food coloring into our cookie dough, if there's any left from the cookie dough thief over there. Okay, up there. So we're going to add the same spices that we put on our cauliflower also in here to kind of toast up so that we get a kind of a double hit with them. So we're going to add another teaspoon of paprika. So I'm going to give it a good shake around. And then a teaspoon of cumin, maybe a little bit less since we put about, yeah. So I'm going to do like 3/4 of a teaspoon because cumin's got a pretty strong earthy flavor. We're going to do about a 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. And then a little shake of garlic salt, like a 1/2 teaspoon. And then we're just going to give this a good mix and kind of toast it up. And that's going to really, the oil that's already in the pan is going to blend with those spices, really make them more aromatic and bring out their flavors, which is going to be lovely. I'm going to turn this down nice and low. And then we're going to add in our cauliflower, give it a stir. I'm going to reserve a little bit of cauliflower so we can put that on top of our soup as well as like a little garnish. I'm going to slide you.
Do you notice a difference from jarred or fresh garlic, and which one do you prefer?
Yes. So if garlic is going to be the star of my meal, I will use fresh garlic because fresh garlic, yes, is better and it's delicious. It has a kind of stronger flavor. But if garlic is a sidekick, you know what I mean? If it's your Robin to your Batman, then it's garlic. It's easier, the convenience. It's much, it gives you the flavor without all the work. So I definitely have, I'll definitely use fresh garlic if it's the star. Like if I'm making like a shrimp scampi where garlic's the star, or a roasted garlic bread. Yes. Okay. Let me get these. I'm going to reserve just a few bits of cauliflower to place on top of our soup as a garnish. You don't need a whole lot, just enough to really cut it. And then we're going to mix these in. And then we're going to add in our broth slowly at a time to kind of coat it. And we're going to let this simmer for just a few minutes. Now, I'm not going to be using just straight up chicken broth. I'm going to use water with chicken bouillon because it allows me to put a little bit more bouillon in there to give a bit more flavor. We're going to start with about 1/2 cup right now. And I want you to just scrape along the bottom of your pot to allow those spices to kind of release from the bottom. So you're essentially, scraping up those little tasty bits. And then we can add a little bit more in. I never just dump it all in at one time because, again, I don't want to flood it. I want it to kind of marry together. Okay. And now I'm going to slowly add in the rest. Give it a good stir. And then we'll add in a nice big scoop of chicken bouillon. And if you want to keep it vegetarian, you could just use, vegetable bouillon. Okay. Here we go. And let's get our chicken bouillon. Oh, I just opened up another one. These things are always so tricky. Oh, got it. And we're going to do a nice big scoop, about a tablespoon. And this is going to give the saltiness factor to our soup, but while also giving nice flavor. It looks like I lost my chef. He ate his cookie dough and returned back to nap. Okay, beautiful. I'm going to give it a little stir. And then I'm going to give it a little bit of it. I'm going to taste it now while it starts to simmer. Lovely. So we're going to bring it back up to a simmer and let it simmer for a few minutes, to really soften all of that up. And then we will puree it. Yeah, is Evie outside? You could go say hi to her. She's sitting on the bench. Today was an early release day for my elementary students, and so they are outside playing. And as soon as Teddy saw, he's like, I gotta go out there and join her. Okay, let's get our Reubens prepped up for our lunch because I love, whenever I make a soup, I like to dip my sandwiches into soup. And I thought, ooh, Reubens are gonna go really well with the cauliflower. So I have a little bit of sourdough left over from the other day. So let me trim this piece off because it's kind of a crazy piece. And then I'm going to cut this up, and this should be able to make us some two nice kind of sandwiches. Here we go. And then we'll cut each one in half. And there. So these will be a good hefty sandwich. Now I'm going to spread a little bit of butter on each side. Now, traditionally, Reuben is done on rye bread, but we're just going to use our sourdough today. I keep saying I'm going to do a rye sourdough because I do love rye bread and make a rye starter. So that's kind of on my to-do list.
You have a question? Is Teddy your youngest?
No, I have actually one younger, who is still sleeping right now. But I have 5 kids, and they range from 15, and my youngest will be 2 next month. So we've got quite the group of kiddos here. Right now, we're in the love of dealing with them in 4 different schools at one time, which is fun. Okay, so we've got our butter on just one side. Now let's do our layer. We've got corned beef, havarti cheese. I find havarti or a creamier white cheese works really well for building up our Reubens. It's my preferred. You don't want to do a cheddar because corned beef has a lot of strong flavor to it. And it just, I feel like competes with it. I'm going to turn on my skillet here, and we're going to let it start to warm up and start cooking this bread. I'm going to just do it over a 6, and then we'll turn it down a little bit. But let's get some havarti. Havarti is also great because it has a really good melting point. So this will melt up pretty quickly and give you that nice ooey gooey cheese pull. And now I have some corned beef, which I love corned beef. Now I'm not going to make my sandwich super thick because if you make it too thick, then it will just never, cook all the way through because that cold sandwich meat will keep it from getting nice and gooey. But we'll do a couple of nice layers on here. Honestly, I think this is like a small packet of corned beef. So this will actually work perfect for this. Beautiful. And then before we put our top layer of cheese, to make it a true thing, we need to put some sauerkraut on it. The acidity of the sauerkraut really pairs well with the corned beef. Corned beef, if you've never had it before, it's a really flavorful but salty meat, and the acidity of this just does wonders. Now, I don't lay it super heavy. I like it a little bit lighter, but I definitely need it there. So we've got a nice kind of little bit, about a teaspoon or so on each one. And that's going to give you that acidity. Now, my second secret ingredient, this is my secret ingredient that I think makes it all delicious. We're going to use a little bit of Chick-fil-A sauce. This might be crazy, but it is delicious. It gives you a little bit of moisture to our sandwich, that kind of makes it juicy. But the sweetness mellows out the saltiness and the acidity. And then I got our next layer on. And now let's assemble. And these are ready to cook up. We will cook them slowly and do 2 flips so that they have a chance to heat up and really melt.
You have a question. Is corned beef from a beef round or brisket?
Corned beef is from a brisket. Typically it's from a brisket. Now corning is a process of like cooking it in a, like a salty kind of mixture and some spices. So I'm sure you could do it from a beef round as well. Typically when I make corned beef like homemade, it's from a brisket. Now, who knows what they put in sandwich meats, whether it's going to be a brisket or a round cut. But corning is just the process of making the meat salty and like seasoned in that kind of color for it. Okay, we've got that. I've got it cooking over this. I'm going to give my soup a quick stir. Again, we're going to let this continue to simmer and bring up. This is our cauliflower soup. So we have roasted purple cauliflower with paprika, cumin, garlic salt, black pepper, and some chicken bouillon. And we're going to let that simmer, and of course, onions. Let's get our cookie dough all colored up for our season here. So I'm going to pull it out. Now this is a richer, like a thicker cookie base, which is wonderful. So we're going to just put it out on our counter here. And this is how we're going to mix in our colors for it, because that's what makes it so much fun. And I told you, this makes a lot of cookie logs, also known as cookie columns. I'm going to... So I've got my big mound, and I'm going to divide it up into kind of blobs here so that we can dye them up. Now, this can also, you don't have to dye it. You can totally leave them just their natural color, which is kind of a blondish yellow from that egg yolk and whatnot. But we really do love the colors. And I'm going to do fall colors for this. So let me just slide out my mixer out of the way so I have a bit more room over here. And you're going to do this. Be prepared for your hands to change a different color because they definitely pop up. I'm going to do green, yellow, red, and then we'll make some orange. So what I always do is you make your well in the middle of it, and this is to allow that kind of food coloring to trap in there and not get so much on you. So we'll do yellow in this one, and I'm going to make this one orange.
Yo has a question for you.
What's for dinner tonight? I don't know. Maybe salmon. I picked up some lovely salmon, and so maybe salmon. I'm not sure yet. You know, I've got thoughts. Okay, we're going to add in some yellow. You don't need a whole lot of food coloring to kind of go a long way. I'm going to add in some green into this one with a little bit of yellow because I want it to be more of a brighter green than a dark green. So, and we might add a little bit more, but always start with a little bit and then add from there. This one's going to be my kind of my orange. So I'm going to add like a drop of red. A little bit of red goes a long way, by the way. We'll add red, straight up red for this one. And then a little bit of yellow. And I might, again, have to add some more in, but let's get them going. Now, my trick when I mix in my colors is I try to go with the lightest color first because it's going to dye my hands a little bit, which is fine. And it will dye your countertops for a second, but I find it's easier to mold them into your countertop like this and then just do a good washing later for this. And this is going to be our yellow here. And then I'm going to go from my yellow to my orange to my red, and then I will finish up with my green at the end. That way I kind of stick with the color patterns for this. But this is our Aunt Aggie's cookie. That is what we're going to do is we'll put these into logs, and I'm going to actually mix them up so each log has lots of colors. But it is, look at that. It is going to be like a cut cookie that you take out of the freezer, and you cut it while it's frozen, and it's going to be absolutely delicious. It's like a mix between a butter and a sugar cookie. There we go. And then just a second, I'm going to flip my grilled cheeses here once I get this mixed up. But here is my orange that's coming. And to make orange, this is back to preschool. Your color is just red and yellow, and it's going to be like 5 parts yellow to 1 part red, maybe even 10 parts yellow to 1 part red, because red is a very strong color. So it will go there. Okay, got orange here. Let me wash my hands and get a flip on this real quick. Here.
You have a question? What kind of cookie dough is this?
So this is Aunt Aggie's cookie dough, which is a family favorite in our house. And beautiful. And then we will crisp these up on the second side to get them even darker for the next kind of crisping. But I do 2 parts. But my Aunt Aggie's is a kind of a hybrid between a sugar and a butter cookie. In the cauldron here, I'm going to give my cauliflower soup a little bit of a stir. We're going to turn it down nice and low, and we're going to let it simmer. Once we're done mixing up our rest of our food coloring, we will puree that up, and that soup will be just about done. Okay, let's get these cookies over here. I'm going to do my red next. I'm going to try to close it up so it doesn't splatter on me again. But I like to do them in fun colors because it makes it more festive than just leaving them their plain colors. Here we go. Now, you can also just mix them in a bowl with, a spoon or a hand mixer. I find it's easier to knead your dough into the counter to mix these colors in nicely than it is to try to mix them with a spoon. It's a little bit more messy, but it makes the job go in half the time. And this will be so pretty. They're nice, fun fall colors. Okay. And now we're going to go into our green, which I always like to do last because those three colors all are in the same family. The green is a darker color, meaning it would stain those colors. But here we go. And then we'll let them sit for a little bit. Now I have found with food coloring, the colors get more intense as they sit and as they bake. So you don't need to keep dyeing them until you feel like you have. They will get a little bit darker as they hydrate more into your dough and when they bake up. Okay. They are just about mixed up. And then we'll form them into our logs here in just a second. But voila. So here we've got our beautiful fall colors. Red, yellow, orange, and green. We got the fall leaves. And I'm going to mix them together to make kind of these cool logs. But let's get our soup and everything. Just looking at it, it's getting good. Let's check how these are going. Beautiful. These are almost done, which is perfect. I'm going to leave that guy a little bit longer over there because he needs to crisp up a bit more. But again, these are our Reuben melts. We're letting them kind of finalize, and I'll do the final crisping on each side until that cheese is nice and melted. But again, I have them cooking over a lower temperature here. Okay, let's form these logs up. They're really simple to do. You're just going to take cling wrap and let's try to get these. And you can also do press and seal works great. You can also do parchment paper or for this as well. We're just going to kind of take a bit of this, stretch it out. I always say try not to get it to stick together. Make it long like this. And then you're going to take just kind of break up your colors like this. And you're just going to take a chunk of it. This is going to give it a tie-dye effect in here for our finished product. And I like to, you could pick and do the colors as you are. Like I could do green and orange, kind of like pumpkins, or, red and yellow for cyclones. But, just kind of add your colors to it as you want. And then what we'll do is we'll roll it up and then we kind of seal it and then it goes in the freezer. And then all it has to do is kind of chill up in the freezer for, a couple of hours. So I'll probably bake these up with dinner tonight because my kids will not want to wait once they know that we have them. But you're just going to take it like this. You're going to roll it into your plastic wrap. And then I kind of take the ends and we'll do a twist. And then you just kind of smooth it along. And then as it freezes, you'll see you're going to have this just wonderful log of cookie dough here, which will be perfect. And it'll give you that cool tie-dyed effect like fall leaves here. Okay, let's see how our grilled cheese is. Beautiful. These are getting about to be ready. Wonderful. So let's puree up our soup. And we will be about ready to serve up lunch here in just a second. I'm going to grab a ladle here so we can bring it into our soup, our blender to puree, and then we'll add in some green onions as garnish, pumpkin seeds, and of course our cauliflower bits. So I'm going to be using my Vitamix here because it is, I will say, wonderful for, and we got all my kids coming home from school today right now. But we're going to get this a nice kind of blend up here. So again, this is our curried cauliflower soup with our onions and our vegetable broth and, or not our vegetable broth, our chicken broth and our spices. And I'm going to see if I can pour. Let me get a little, I grab this because it's a little bit warm. That way I don't have to do all of the, we're going to pour it all in here. And then we're going to puree it up. And then I'm going to add in a little bit of cream after we pureed it up in here and to give it that nice kind of creaminess. But you don't have to do it until you put it in here. So we're going to put this on. I'm going to do my soup setting on here, which starts at a low blend and brings it up high. There we go. Now it's about to go high in just a second here. Beautiful. So here we've got our kind of creamy cauliflower soup. And then we're going to pour it right back into our things. As you can see, it's got a nice kind of thickness and velvetyness to it. And again, we used our purple cauliflower, which is giving us this kind of beautiful color to it, this kind of pale red for it.
Oh, you have a question? Have you ever used an immersion blender?
I have. I used to have an immersion blender and I broke it because I blended it too much and the motor popped out on me, and it was a battery powered one, which I wouldn't get again, but I've always thought about getting another one, but this one works well. I like the Vitamix because it blends it really, really smooth. We're going to add in about a fourth of a cup of cream. I'm going to give it a good stir and then we'll see how it is. I like to add a little bit of creaminess to it, but you don't need to use a whole lot. And you could definitely use coconut milk as well. Okay, let's give it a good taste. Beautiful. I don't even think I need any more than that. But I feel like adding just a little bit of cream really brings it together. Okay, let's see. These are just about perfect. Beautiful. You can see I've got my cheeses starting to really melt here. So I'm going to flip this over. And beautiful. Look how perfect, this golden brown crispy edge on it. We're going to let it sit there, finish up. Let's get our soup kind of put together. We're going to cut up some green onions as kind of a garnish to go on top of the soup. We also have our bits of our cauliflower here. And then we're going to do some pumpkin seeds, and then we're going to assemble everything. So we'll get these clicked, and then it'll be time to assemble our lunch. Okay. So we have that. We'll also put a little bit of Parmesan cheese over and get our pumpkin seeds. Okay. I've got my ladle right here. Beautiful.
So you have a question? Will the kids eat the soup as well?
Yes, I will say my kids absolutely love soup. Well, my boys love soup. My girls, they won't eat it, but my boys will. They are soup lovers. Okay, let me see. Let me grab my plate here. There we go. Got my little cauldron. And I'll just slide it and we'll do it right here. I'll slide everything. Make a little bit more room. Oh, okay. So for lunch today, we have our delicious Reuben sandwich with corned beef, havarti cheese, our sauerkraut, and then a touch of Chick-fil-A sauce to give a little bit of moisture and deliciousness on our homemade sourdough bread. And then we're going to serve it with our creamy roasted cauliflower soup. We roasted up a whole head of purple cauliflower, seasoned it with paprika, cumin, garlic, salt, onion powder. And then we're going to garnish it with some green onions, a little bit of our roasted cauliflower on top, a sprinkle of pumpkin seeds to add a little bit of crunch, and then, of course, a nice little garnish of freshly grated Parmesan cheese over the top for a delicious kind of creamy but savory soup. And then, of course, for later tonight, we're going to bake up one of our logs of Aunt Aggie's, which is the most delicious kind of butter sugar cookie hybrid. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I try to do live cooking shows every single day, kind of show you what we're making for our family and hopefully teach you guys something along the way. Again, we do upload all of our videos to the link on our page. So if you ever want to recreate any of our recipes at home, you can just go to that link, search for what we made. So we've got our Reubens with our creamy roasted cauliflower soup and our Aunt Aggie's, and you can watch and cook along with me. We also have a link to our Amazon storefront, which has all of our different cooking gear and gadgets. I've got my Vitamix, I've got my stand mixer, my Hexclad, my Le Creuset, all the different gadgets that I use in the kitchen I have in there. But again, thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe.